Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about two-way tables. This is just a way of organizing results of a couple of questions in a table format and then trying to deduce some analysis of the data given what you know. So, without further ado, two-way table is a frequency table that displays data collected from one source that belong to two different categories. So essentially, you ask a single person two yes or no questions or two questions that have two answers, and you organize the results. So each individual frequency, like the freshman yeses here, are called a joint frequency. That's because you're joining the answers to two questions. Same thing with the freshman no's, the sophomore yeses, and the sophomore no's. Now, the marginal frequencies are going to be the sums of each of those individual joint frequencies. So if I add up the freshmen, there are 77 freshmen that are surveyed here, and there are 75 sophomores that are surveyed. If I add the yeses, that's going to give me 118, and if I add the no's, that's going to give me 34. So those two things give me a total of 152 people surveyed. Those are my marginal frequencies, the sums of the rows and the columns. Now you're going to have to do that on your quiz, so we're going to do a couple of examples that kind of have to do with this. Example 1, we conduct a technology survey to publish on your school's website. You survey students in the school cafeteria about technological devices they own. The results are shown in a two-way table. Find and interpret the marginal frequencies. So all I have to do is essentially add up each row for the cell phone. So if I'm looking at the cell phone categories, that is these, the yeses and the no's here, I'm going to add up each row here. So if I try to figure out the total number of people that have a cell phone, I have to add 34 and 124 to get 158. Now, if I want to find the total number of people that do not have a cell phone, I'm going to add 18 and 67. That one's going to give me 85. Total number of people that have a tablet would be 34 plus 18, which is going to be 52. And the total number of people that do not have a tablet is going to be 124 plus 67. That's going to be 191. Now, a super simple thing that we should probably check, I should make sure that when I add these, 191 plus 52, I get 243. And when I add these two, 158 plus 85, I also get 243. So I get the same total number of people surveyed in both the cell phone rows and the tablet columns. There you have it. That's about as simple as it gets, just adding. Now the next example I have, we're going to be filling in some blanks here, so we're going to have to do some problem solving. In this one, I conduct a survey that asks 286 students in your freshman class whether they play a sport or a musical instrument. 118 of the students play a sport, and 64 of those play an instrument. 93 of the students do not play a sport or an instrument. Organize the results in a two-way table. Now, there's an example on your assignment that's very similar to this. Very similar given information. You have to interpret what you're given and plug in the information. That's done for you here. Now, the first box I'm going to find is this one. That's because there's only one blank across this entire row here. So if I wanted to figure out the number of people that said no to having an instrument, but yes to playing in a sport, I'm going to take 118, the total, and subtract 64, which is the part that was added to get that 118. So 118 minus 64 is going to give me 54. From there, I'm actually going to find this one. I don't necessarily have to go in this order, but I could either find this one or I can find this total over here. I'm going to just take the two joint frequencies, 54 and 93, and add those up to get my total of that no column to give me 147. So I have a couple of options left. I'm now going to find this total because I have the total number of people surveyed as well as the total number of yeses in the sports. So I can use that to find the total number of people that did not play a sport. I'm going to take 286 and subtract 118 to find that marginal frequency of 168. Now I can just continue to problem solve to figure out this next one. I'm going to take the total, 168, and I'm going to subtract 93, and that's going to give me 75. And then from there, I only have to find that yes total for the instrument, and I'm going to take 75, which I just found, and I'm going to add 64 to get 139. Now, the only thing I would encourage you to do is make sure the totals all work out. So if I take 139 plus 147, I need to make sure I also get 286. So 139 plus 147 does give me 286. And if I take 118 and add 168, I also want to make sure I get 286. So 118 plus 168 does give me 286. So both of these totals end up working out perfectly. And there you have it. You are going to have one like that on your assignment as well as your quiz as well. Last example I got for you, we're going to be finding some relative frequencies. First thing I got to do is figure out all my totals and then basically do some simple division to identify the percentages of each joint frequency as well as the marginal frequency. So, adding some simple stuff, I'm going to add the juniors up, take 124 and add 219. That's going to give me 343 total juniors. I'm going to take 101 and I'm going to add 236 to give me the total number of seniors, 337. I'm actually going to add those two numbers up to give me the total number of people, which is 680. Now I'm going to add the columns. 124 plus 101, this is the number of people that said they would major in a medical field. That would give me 225. And then 219 plus 236 is going to give me 455 for the total number of people that will not be majoring in a medical field. Now, in order to figure out the percent values, I'm always going to divide by the total number of people surveyed. That is 680, not any of the other totals. I got to know the total number of people surveyed because it's always parts of the whole to identify a percent. So to figure out the number of juniors that said they would major in a medical field, the number of juniors that said they would major in a medical field is 124, and I'm going to divide that by 680. So 124 divided by 680 is going to give me 0.182, which I'm going to round to 18.2%. Now I'm going to figure out the number of the percentage of juniors that would not major in a medical field. So I'm going to take 219 and divide by 680. 219 divided by 680 is going to give me 0.322, which is 32.2%. Now I'm going to go on to the seniors. Seniors that will major in a medical field is going to be 101 divided by 680, which is 0.1485. That 5 makes the 8 go up to 14.9%. I better write down that calculation there. 101 divided by 680. And then finally, I have the number of seniors that will not, which is 236 out of 680. And dividing that, I'm going to get 0.3470, which is 34.7%. Now, when you're rounding, you're going to have some room for error here because we're rounding on multiple levels, meaning there might be some error when I add these things up. So to figure out my totals, I should kind of have an idea here because this one at the very end should almost always be exactly 100%. We're just going to assume that here. It might not actually add that way. I think the way we rounded it does end up working out, but sometimes it won't. So when I take 18.2 and add 32.2, I get 50.4% for the number of juniors, the percentage of juniors surveyed. Now, when I take the seniors, I get 14.9, and I'm going to add 34.7, which is going to give me 49.6. That one worked out, because when I add those two percentages, I do get 100%. Now, when I add the yeses for the medical field, 18.2 plus 14.9, it's going to give me 33.1%. And when I take 32.2 and I add 34.7, I'm going to get 66.9% for that final percentage. Now, it all worked out perfectly here. This is something that you will have to do on your quiz, being able to find those percentages after finding the marginal frequencies, etc. It's as simple as just filling out a table and then adding, subtracting, and dividing. So that's all I got for you. Your assignment is going to be very similar to that last example. Number 5 is kind of a tricky one. Make sure you try this out. Just going to identify the key information here. So those things are right in front of you. Just input the numbers where you would according to what the information provided tells you they need to be at, and find the percents just like you do on every other example. So that's all I got for you. Go ahead and get started and see me with any questions you got. Thanks and have a good night.